JJ Redick wants more defense from his stars. Will Luka and LeBron respond? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. When you do it, you're getting the number. You're helping us be the number one sports podcast network in this or any other known universe. That's whether you're getting it through Apple iTunes, on Spotify, whether you're one of the 37,000 plus subscribers to the YouTube channel. Andy Kamenetsky, Brian Kamenetsky. I'm Brian. He's Andy. We certainly appreciate you guys taking the time every day. So a lot to get into with this show, starting with a sneaky tough game, Andy, in Utah that gets a little bit sneaky tougher for the Lakers because Deandre Ayton is not going to play Thursday night in Utah. He has an elbow injury. The Lakers are sitting him out. Gabe Vincent also listed as questionable for this game. So he might not play. So the Lakers without Ayton, who has been a model of consistency, Andy, for this team, against a Utah squad that don't look now has been, 500 or so over their last 15 games.
They have won 4 of their last 6 games with wins over a full-strength Rockets, or close enough, full as they have been over the last couple weeks, and basically full-strength Memphis in terms of guys that could reasonably expected to play right now. Lauri Markkanen is listed as questionable. He's been downgraded from available to questionable with some type of groin deal. We'll see if he's
groin management, I believe is what they're calling it.
Yeah, that was the name of my band in high school. Groin management. Huge with the ladies.
Some late night films that they probably don't like screening in Utah called groin management.
We groin management was not safe for Utah, baby.
No.
But what I think is going to be interesting, though, is even if the Jazz don't have Markkanen, they still have Keyonte George, who has been spectacular this season and is the type of player that is specifically very difficult for the Lakers to check. A very quick guard, can be explosive. It's going to be interesting to see how they approach this. Utah also has a lot of size between Jusuf Nurkic and Filipowski. They're one of the best teams in the league on both sides of the glass. And in a lot of ways, that glass helps them at least not be the worst defensive team in the league, although they're pretty damn close. But it also helps them a lot offensively. Like, they get by a lot on second chance points, getting to the line, which Markkanen's potential absence could affect, and just pace. They get a lot of possessions, just a lot of possessions through running, a lot of possessions through offensive rebounds. They're not a particularly efficient, clean team from inside or outside the arc, but they find ways to score. So the Lakers are going to have to figure out what to do with that size. The lineup that they're going to go with, Maxi Kleber is actually available for this game. So I expect he will play, given Ayton's absence. It'll be interesting to see how JJ approaches this.
Yeah, I think, I was obviously look for, you know what? I think Jackson will start. I think, they'll move Jackson Hayes up and start, but it is not out of the question that JJ would go with Kleber to keep Hayes in the second unit. That is, coaches will often do that, especially with players who have done really well with the guys that they play with. And while you want to maybe get Jackson Hayes more reps with that vertical threat, the strong pick and roll play, all that stuff, and Jackson really has very quietly, I think, been one of the better stories for the Lakers this year. There is something to be said for kind of keeping him where he is. Also, if assuming Jusuf Nurkic is available for them, he's been in and out of the lineup a little bit for Utah. He is an enormous human being. And while not wildly mobile, he is
wildly.
That'd be nice. And the guy plays in the NBA. He's more mobile than me.
No, he's actually taller than you. I'm not sure he's actually more mobile than you. He's just way bigger and taller than you.
Either way, it's you could certainly see that as a viable way to sneak in 15 minutes of Maxi Kleber, and at least try to get Jackson in situations that a little bit more as he's been playing over the course of the year. But that I think you could also reward him with a start and expect good results. He's played well. If Gabe can't play, it creates an interesting dynamic because I think part of why Vanderbilt and Vincent were both featured, obviously Austin Reaves not available. You want / need that ball handler. But if Vincent isn't available, now you're really leaning into potentially larger lineups, which is in some ways kind of the opposite of what people think of as how the Lakers operate. Maybe going small at different times. This could be a reason to go a little bit bigger with your primary ball handlers as Luka, LeBron, and Marcus Smart.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they do this. I think Vando will have the opportunity to handle the ball a little bit out of necessity, particularly if he grabs a defensive rebound and just goes. And against the Jazz, you really should look to push pace just to try to get as easy shots as possible. This is a team, by the way, that they are god-awful defensively. Like, they make the normal version of the Lakers, not the clutch time Lakers where they become the bad boy Pistons, but the normal version of the Lakers
look
like the bad boy
the other
Pistons.
43 minutes of the game.
Yeah. Well, the Jazz make actually the Lakers look like the bad boy Pistons over the first 43 minutes as well. And they're a team that does not generate turnovers at all. So if the Lakers turn the ball over a lot, it is likely their fault. Let's be judicious with the home run passes, boys. They're also a team that turns the ball over a lot. And the Lakers are going to want to actually get them out of what they're doing, get out and running. And I feel like this is a game where if the Lakers don't actually do a decent job turning over Utah and creating some chaos, it's likely their fault as well, too, because this is just a real opportunity for them.
There are different forms of urgency. We didn't get a chance to play the clip for Wednesday's show. But you were at practice on Tuesday, and Gabe Vincent talked about urgency, and there's some of the challenges of getting up for every game and all that kind of stuff over the course of 82. And I think that's true. But like, he also, I think, noted it's not just, are you ready to go, like, psyched up for every game, playing the fullest peak of your, because none of us show up every day at work 100% dialed in. Everybody has days where they're, that's just human nature. But urgency for the Lakers isn't just about taking your opponent seriously. Some of it is like literally moving with urgency, playing faster. The Lakers do Utah a favor in a game like this if they behave offensively like they did in the last 5 minutes or 6 minutes against the Suns, where the Lakers didn't make Phoenix play defense in the last 5 or 6 minutes of that game. You can't punish a team that's bad defensively if you don't make them play defense.
Well, here's the thing, and I see a comment right now from Terry Allen 4590. Are you idiots actually worried that they're going to lose in Utah? Am I worried? No, but if you are asking me, do they have an established pattern of playing down to the level of competition and making games that shouldn't be all that interesting more interesting than merited? If you say no, you clearly haven't watched this team.
It's happened.
This is the pattern.
They've won. They've been very good against sub 500 teams this year. I don't want to like look past them. The teams where they've lost, they've tended to lose against lousy ones.
Yes.
But the whole point of this, the whole point of JJ Redick's speeches over the last few days is you can't look past games like this. And as you noted, Andy, they've won 4 of 6. They beat Houston. They've been a 500 team basically since starting 3-7. Is 500 really good? It is not. Is it the Wizards or New Orleans? It is also not. The Jazz are a well-coached team that will make you beat them, and the Lakers should be able to clear that bar, but you got to show up and do it. The JJ Redick wants more from his stars defensively. This will be a good day to kind of work on that, as the Jazz aren't super powerful on that side of the ball. We'll talk about what JJ said and how Luka Dončić reacted next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that same drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You can expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move.
Locked On Lakers is also brought to you by Gusto. Let's be real, Andy. No one starts a business with the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. No one does that. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. It's automated tools like letter offers, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save hours of work every week. And knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind. So try Gusto at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, Andy. 3 months free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time. That's gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. So I'm intrigued by this game. The Lakers have had a few days off. They are coming. I'm always, Andy, interested in games, how the Lakers respond when they're coming off of, I don't want to say disappointing game, because they did beat the Suns, but a really bad close. Like really bad.
What a ride that was, man.
I mean, really bad. And so how do the Lakers come back from an unsatisfying win where, once again, some of their flaws were out there for people to see? This tendency offensively to go really dry, to lose movement, defensively to not be able to get stops, Andy. And to that point, JJ Redick is calling out his stars.
Yeah, he talked to both Luka and LeBron, but this is actually the first time I believe he's had this type of sit-down conversation with Luka, specifically about the defense and the onus on the stars to raise their own level of defense, knowing A, it's going to help the team, but B, everybody else follows suit. And when you guys do this, it requires everybody else to do it. If you don't do it, it can create a permission structure for others not to. And Luka said at practice on Wednesday, quote, "It was good about the meeting. We talked a lot, not just that, but he was right. You got to get a little more, especially from your star players. So that's on us. That's on me. We just got to give more, especially to start the game. We have to start the game better than wanted to say. I think in Phoenix, we did a pretty good job defensively. The plan was focused on ourselves and the defensive mentality, and I think we did a pretty good job."
I am pleased that this is something that JJ Redick is talking about. I mean, look, we knew it last year, when there was the come to Jesus game, moment with JJ and LeBron, that it's, showed he's not afraid to talk to his, at the very least, former podcast co-hosts about playing better defensively. But, you want your coach to not worry about these sorts of things. You got to be able to talk to your star players. You've got to be able to hold them accountable. You can't build a culture in which those guys aren't held accountable to at least some degree. Everybody knows Luka is not going to be held to the same standard defensively as anyone else.
I mean, as Marcus Smart,
sure,
as Gabe was playing, Jared Vanderbilt, Arabia.
He's not, he's not going to be asked to do things in the same way. LeBron, I think to some extent, is like when you carry huge loads offensively, there is generally across the NBA an understanding that, you're going to be protected on that side of the ball if possible, but you still got to do the bare minimum. You still got to do things in a way that aren't, undermining your team. And, clearly Redick believes that Luka and LeBron haven't been at that level enough, in this defensive slump.
Yeah, and a lot of this really comes down to maintaining a sense of urgency in a game in, game out basis, which is why we specifically talked about this with Utah, because Utah profiles as a team that the Lakers could take it easy against and still eke out a win. And that may very well be the case, but that doesn't mean it's how you should approach it. I'm not saying they need to be balls to the walls for 48 minutes like they were playing the Thunder, but there is a requisite level of effort and urgency and focus that you want to play with every game, because it builds the habit of doing it. It starts becoming your base state. And Tuesday during practice, I asked both Gabe and Jake LaRavia about the challenges of maintaining urgency. And this, by the way, are two guys that no matter what you think of them as players, they're two of the guys that I think do play
they're
game
urgent.
in, game out. Yeah, yes, they are. I mean, quite frankly, they're two guys who need to maintain that level of urgency
Correct.
if they want to be in the league. But this was Gabe's response. I'll begin with him when I asked him on Tuesday about that challenge.
I think 82 games is a lot of games. And I think night to night, we see the same teams. I think we saw them in the preseason. We've seen them 4 times during the year. We may see them in the playoff. There's many scenarios where you see the same group. And, sometimes you need to be inspired, not necessarily from external, but from within. And whether it's Vando coming in with a spark, or Maxi Kleber coming in for big minutes, or Marcus getting on the floor for a loose ball. There's many forms of inspiration this team needs, and it comes different each night. But Vando was huge for us against Phoenix, and we're going to do more of that.
And then I also asked Jake about this, and I thought it was really interesting, our exchange, because he had talked about this earlier when someone asked him a similar question. And again, I asked him about the challenges of it, and I thought his response, particularly when I followed up, really got to the nut of the matter.
I mean, what she just said, it's really just the consistency with the effort that's given. As long as we go out there and we're, playing hard and giving effort defensively, and then adding in that physicality on top of it, it should look like that.
I guess more what I'm asking is the challenges of doing it and making sure that you do it, being mindful of doing it.
And no one, you just gotta go out there and do it. It's not anything a coach can say. It's not anything a player can tell another player. It's an individual player job to go out there and give effort on defense. And then contagious, it just goes around, and that's the result.
That's ultimately too why it matters for LeBron and Luka to do that contagion factor.
Well, yeah, it's a bunch of things. I think it starts with, your defensive integrity breaks down if you have 1 or 2 or 3. Like, this is why it becomes problematic when Rui loses a guy, or when D'Angelo Russell used to kind of get caught napping. It's like one piece that doesn't move in with the group screws up a lot and can make other defenders look bad, when it's not even necessarily their fault. Player A is making the right read, player B doesn't, and it looks like player A is screwing up when really it's player B. And nobody likes that. that annoys players, when they look like the bad guy on tape.
To quote Lester Freeman in The Wire, all the pieces matter. I mean, they really do. They're all the pieces out there on the court matter.
And then that thing, but when you talk, Gabe talking about inspiration and Jake talking about kind of just getting out there and doing it, it does make a difference. Like, when you see, it's always interesting to me, like, players, when that moment when the energy level gets turned up, because while I think there are times when players in the NBA know, okay, we're kind of in cruise control here. Sometimes it's not even a bad thing to be in cruise control. It is a long season. But I think sometimes it happens where the energy goes up and you didn't really even realize it was lower before. Again, I point to all of us in our normal daily lives. Like, there are times when you think you're kind of going, or you're putting in the effort or whatever, and then all of a sudden, like, whoa, you're really dialed in, and you realize, maybe I wasn't at my most dialed in yesterday or the day before or 2 hours ago or whatever it was. That's how this works here. And I think maybe, like, that's a good reason why guys like Vanderbilt can make such a big difference, when, the energy that Jackson Hayes can provide, the enthusiasm that Marcus Smart kind of brings, the toughness, the edge and stuff like that. But we saw it with LeBron after the Miami game. Like, when your 41-year-old guy is doing it, it's hard to ignore. Same with Luka.
Yeah, absolutely. We get back to, I had a couple of really interesting exchanges with JJ on Tuesday when I asked him about the question that the everydayers know I've been harping on a lot, about lineup balance and his philosophy on that. And it led to JJ talking about the Banshee mentality on both sides of the ball in ways that I wasn't expecting, but I think was also pretty revealing about getting the best version of this team. So we can talk about that coming up next. Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Rocket Money. Do you ever feel like your money just disappears every month? It happens fast. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy there, and all of a sudden the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, stay in control of your finances. Managing money should not feel like a second job, and it won't with Rocket Money, because they do the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions you forgot you were even paying for and helps you clean them up quickly. Seeing all your spending on one dashboard makes it easier to understand where your money is going if it doesn't floor you with shock and disappointment. It also automatically builds budgets, Rocket Money, based on your past spending. Take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
I look at this team, and it's still a little bit tricky, Andy, to figure out where they're going to land, like, compared to the other elite teams in the West. Like, when you get down to the spring, and things like playing hard, because everybody's playing hard, don't matter as much. How really good you are at running your stuff, and staying, with the defensive integrity, all these other things. When you talk to JJ, and I know you're going to play the clip, about like establishing sort of the culture and the mentality and the habits, that's really what stuck out to me. I thought it was a really interesting moment.
Yeah. I have been, and you as well, wanting to see eventually when all hands are on deck. And that, as JJ noted, has not been a luxury they've really had for any consistent time at all. I would like to see, and you would as well, Marcus Smart in the starting lineup in place of Rui, because it would balance out more defensively in the starting lineup, balance out more offensively in the bench unit. And JJ has often, even with all of his options in front of him, gone with these lineups that skew very, very heavily offense, then second units that bring out some of your best defensive players. And, that was the formation of the Luka and the Banshees from last year. And I asked JJ if basically, does he have a philosophy on this in terms of, do you prefer just in coming up with these floor combinations, doubling and tripling down on strengths, or do you look for balance? Is it dependent on your own roster? And this is how he responded.
It's more specific to matchups, to be honest with you. There are some teams that we've seen it. We played 4-on-5 offensively when we've had a more defensive-minded player on there, and that's not the right balance either. So, again, we haven't been able to have a sustained stretch of health to really work all this stuff out. And so game to game, it's felt very piecemeal. I do think, the Banshee mentality extends to the offensive end. And, for like Vando, the other night, I think is a blueprint for him. And for that sort of mold of what we're looking for is, defending and disruption within our schemes, and then, crashing and just getting extra opportunities.
And the idea of an offensive mentality for the Banshee, like the Banshee mentality for the offensive side of the ball, is not something I've actually heard JJ talk about before. Or frankly, the players talk about before. And I then asked him as a follow-up, is it a challenge to present it on that side of the ball, the Banshee mentality? Because on paper, it seems like something that's more defensively skewed. His response is long, but I think it's really interesting, and it has an awesome zinger at the end.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the Banshee board, and there's a lot of offensive things on there, to be honest with you. Screening is one of those things, offensive rebounding. The thing that we come back to, I would say very often with our offense in general, and particularly against certain opponents, is, our effort offense has to be the difference maker in the game. At times it has been, at times it hasn't been. The other night was a great example of it being the reason I think we won the game. We didn't have some offensive lineups out there. We couldn't run anything in the last 3 minutes, which is something I got to clean up. Not having AR out there as the other ball handler. I think Luka was gassed and just literally refused to bring the ball up. So it's having AR will help with that. But those last 4 or 5 minutes, we've now seen it pop up in 3 games where we just haven't been able to run offense. And can't even get into sets. 2 guys will know what we're running, and the other 3 guys are so distracted by pressure or switching that we ran a variation of 77 that was not called, where everybody was 40 feet away from the basket in the middle of the court. So I'm just going to start calling that 77 cluster, and we'll see if we can get an advantage out of it.
So if you ever hear JJ yelling 77 cluster bleep, that's what's going on.
The Banshee thing offensively, it gets to the mentality. It's because what do we talk about? It's guys playing aggressively, it's being proactive, it's taking plays to the defense, or in this case, it's to the opposing offense. It's being physical, it's putting a body on people, it's attention to detail, it's, moving a step faster than the other. All of that is stuff that they need to be doing offensively. That level of, the Banshee stuff defensively is what we would call a sense of urgency. And it shouldn't be reserved for the defensive side of the ball. And I think so often it is, because when you think about playing hard, the most tangible way to see my team is playing hard is by what they do on defense, on loose balls, on things like that. How about run an extra 5 seconds of offense on every possession, because you got that ball up the floor and you're cutting with urgency, and you're setting screens with urgency. These are meaningful things. So you're not losing a second of your offense because your guard has to veer out a little bit higher on the floor because the screen wasn't very good, or the roll wasn't very good. So you got to kick the ball somewhere else. Like, this stuff compounds over the course of a possession and a quarter and a game. And the Lakers offense, when it fails, it's the top 10 in the league, but when it fails because of that more often than not.
And that physicality, ironically, in a lot of ways on the offensive end, because this was not the way he was talked about heading into this season with the Lakers, a lot of it's actually been provided by DeAndre. The screening from DeAndre has been fantastic. Like, he sets good screens. The rebounding on both sides of the ball, but on the offensive glass, talking about that side of the floor, has been really, really good. Like, he's not a physical type player in the way we often think about, I don't know, like Shaq.
Yusuf Nurkic.
Right.
Just a hulking human that,
or Jokic, like Jokic when he's down low, stuff like that. But Ayton has been bringing, I think in some respects, a Banshee mentality or Banshee characteristics offensively, even if he often, I think, seems to fans kind of laid back.
And the thing that I like about Ayton too, that he's done really well this year, and this gets to what I was saying before you played the clips about, and JJ got into it about, sort of building this identity of, like, what are you going into the playoffs? Like, the Lakers are obviously a really good team. They're going to, barring something, I think, a lot of this is really just injury, barring a lot of injuries, they're going to be in the top 6. They've got a really good chance to finish in the top 4. It's not a slam dunk, not with, you're playing 2 through 4 right now, because OKC is obviously going to be the 1. You have Denver, you have San Antonio, you have Houston. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know the Lakers are going to finish in front of all 3, 2 or 3 or all of them. But, like, what are you at the end of the year? And Ayton, I think some of that is to me is attention to detail and understanding what it is that we are trying to do as a group. And one of the things that Ayton is really good at, and why he gets such good shots, is because he's always where he's supposed to be in those pick and roll sequences. He doesn't rush. He doesn't set a bad screen to try to rush to the basket, which is something that a lot of centers do. He doesn't set a screen that's too long and kind of linger there. He doesn't stop if he's supposed to keep going. He doesn't keep going if he's better off stopping. And that's why every shot he seems to take is open, and he's shooting 70+% for the year. That kind of attention to understanding the finer points of what you're trying to do is certainly not there defensively for this team, but it's not always there offensively either.
Agreed. 100%. Agree. Really quick before we go, just so people are updated, the South Bay Lakers played the San Diego Clippers, their G League team, on
not to be confused with the San Diego Clippers, who are now the Los Angeles Clippers, who are now G League team.
Mike,
while their Los Angeles team is playing like a G League team.
Yes. But Dalton Connect, we talked about him getting sent down for a G League stint. He responded very well. 30 points, 10 of 17 from the field, 6 of 10 from behind the arc, 3 of 3 at the line, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block. Did have 2 turnovers, but it was a really nice game.
An awful lot. It
was a nice game for Dalton. Adu Thero and Nick Smith also played very well, but it was most important for Dalton to have this type of game. What it means moving forward, who knows? But good that he did it.
I hope they send him back down there for more. Like, let him get down there and just do stuff, because he's not going to get a chance to play a ton with the big club at least when everybody's healthy. But if he's feeling good about himself in those minutes that he does play, you're much more likely to get a better result. So we'll see. We, of course, will be back after the game against the Jazz, bring you all the news and commentary about what happened. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can hang out with over 37,000 subscribers. See everybody after the game.